Welcome to day three. Can you believe it's day three of the Get Ready With Me Back to School event 2024? This is the first time I'm running this. And if you've been following along all the last few days, thank you very much. But today we're actually going to be talking about classroom games, and I'll give you some reasons why we do those sorts of things and why you'd want to in the first place. But before that, hi, I'm Julia from Jooya Teaching Resources, and I'm a music teacher with over 20 years of experience in the music, grade 7 to 12 music classroom. So as said, in today's video, we're going to learn why playing games in middle school classroom and older classrooms is crucial for student engagement and development, and even you'll have a chance to win. So in order to win all the things that you're seeing this week in this back to school event, all you have to do is comment below saying watching. Now you can watch the replays because I know as an Aussie, most of the things I get are not necessarily in my time zone. So I get that it may not be in your time zone, or that you're flat out busy and you want to binge watch them on the weekend. As said, I'm not looking at who has actually commented, even though I'm liking the comments. So thank you very much as I go through, but I'll be looking at that on Sunday afternoon, my Sunday afternoon. So that'll be your Saturday if you're watching in the US. Okay, so before anything else, let's just get started. So why would you want to do games in the classroom? Before I even do that, okay, I'll tell you a little story. So I started teaching in 2001, as I said, and before I was made a permanent member for staff member, I did what we call a lot of casual teaching. So casual teaching, you might call it substitute teaching. And it was my very first school in my very first few weeks of teaching. And the school that I was actually working at the time had 80-minute lessons, 5 lessons a day, 80 minutes. They were very long lessons. Now, the problem was I was new to teaching, very, very new, very, very green, so to speak. And there was very little resources left for me to actually use. There wasn't any plans or anything. It was very, very vague. And the other music teacher, I was replacing the one who worked every day. And the other music teacher who was on maternity leave, she was working part-time. So she wasn't there to actually give me a lot of support because, she was on maternity leave and working part-time. That's what you do. Anyway, one of the things I worked out pretty quick was if I could play a game. And this is before we all had our own real like printers and laminators and all those sorts of things. So I said we're talking 20 something years ago, 2001. And I had some old card that was a really weird shape. It wasn't a real good size. And I literally hand drew a grid on it, and I hand drew music symbols on it. And it was only a grid of 9. Okay. And I had the cards, bingo cards, and we played bingo. And for some classes, we spent nearly the whole lesson doing that because that was the only way I could actually keep them going and keep them actually engaged and not literally climbing out the windows, which did happen one day. That's another story for another thing. But as I said, this is sort of where I started playing games, and I thought that it was going to be too babyish for these kids, but it was surprising how many of these kids actually wanted to do this. And eventually, we got more stuff, and we didn't just rely on games, but it did get me through a lot of lessons. And in the last few years, we've had a few times where we've actually had a lockdown, and kids have, you sort of basically, whatever kids near your classroom, if they happen to have been in the playground, get them inside, and just to keep them occupied, I'll get games out. And it doesn't matter that they're not my music students. We're playing games and just keeping them occupied. And as I said, I'll show you a few of those games that I use for that. So there's lots of ways and reasons to use games. So what are they? So there's 10 reasons I'm going to give you. 1, for engagement and fun. Okay, you want active participation and you want your kids engaged. That's the number 1. 2, increased active participation. You'll find that some kids who won't actually be active in some activities will be more really happy to be involved in a game of some sort. Okay. Reinforcement of concepts or elements of music or anything. There's different ways you can play games to actually reinforce the learning that you're actually doing. Memory enhancement. Again, those games, it helps transfer. If you're playing games and you're doing something that's reinforcing what you've already taught, it transfers it from the short-term to long-term memory because the kids actually associate fun with it, and it's a good way to do that. Differentiated learning. It's a good way to actually be able to differentiate and help kids. Fantastic for team building, and in the music classroom, we need that more than ever. It's not just for the sports field. We need our kids to be able to work together, because if they can't work together, they can't play together musically. and they really need to. Okay, so we know that. Competition and motivation, sometimes you just need to motivate them to in some way, like, okay, and I've used this as a carrot in my classroom. Okay, and I'll put it up on the board what we're doing for the lesson, and the very last thing will be a game. And that's the motivation for some classes, is if we get all that done, we get to play a game. Okay. Quick review sessions, it's fantastic for those sorts of things. Also, lots of lesson variety and teaching methods. You can't keep teaching the same way every day. You get bored. I know I get bored. So the kids would get bored too. So it provides an opportunity for variety. And also, it helps with those cognitive skills development. So games also help those other soft skills, those social and emotional skills, how to actually be a good winner, how to be a good loser, how to actually participate in a game, and all those sorts of things that are those soft skills that are within playing games. And the bonus is that if you do use games, it helps to create a positive learning environment, which is something we all want. Let's face it, we all want a positive learning environment. So I've got a stack of these games, and I'll just share my screen for a minute. I'll show you because it's actually on. Where is it? It's in, sorry, I know I've tried to be organized, but sometimes you forget where you put things. Here it is. All right. So I'll just make that bigger and go back to the beginning for you. Sorry about this. I should have had it all ready to go. Alrighty. So these games, I actually created these games a long time ago, and I put them together for my own personal benefit. I said probably nearly 10 years ago, because I used these games on repeat a lot. And so I thought, well, I may as well just put them all together in one sort of document for myself, because then I've actually got easier access. Now, this is in my store. Okay. It's a freebie. It's one of my most recent products that's been added to there. You can go grab this right now over my Teachers Pay Teachers. So, and as I said, if you go to my store, Jooya Teaching Resources, and you sort the products by most recent, it'll be, I think, the second or third one down on the page. It's one of the most recent. But as I said, there's 31 games in there. I'm not going to go through all 31, but what I'm saying is there's lots of things in here that will help you. Now, the other thing is, not only do I give you simple instructions, but for some of them, if I know I need to have, like I like to play music in the background, literally if you click those, that will go to that music. It's a clip on YouTube. So that'll help you. So as there's stacks of things that are actually in this particular one that I'm not going to go through them all, because you can, as it, go and grab them yourself. But I wanted to show you that there's a lot of what I'm talking about is actually in this, and you can go get it and get yourself organized and use games straight away. And it like older kids like playing them. I don't care how old you are. My grade 12, 11 and 12s love it. My 9s and 10s love it. My year 7s love it. I don't say year 8 because we don't teach year 8 at my school. They do visual arts for the year. Anyway, so let me get this going. So because I'm literally starting at the beginning of the year, I will always play lots of get to know you games. Now, why do I play that? Couple of reasons. One, helps me get to know the kids and get to know their names. The other reason is simply that I also get to observe how they interact with other people and how they can follow an instruction and how involved they are in the activities. So that's a good one. All right. So a couple of really simple get to know you games, which don't take a lot of, they don't mean any equipment. You just need a bit of space. Next in line. So for next in line, you do some sort of thing to get to know people's names. Then you put everybody in a circle and you put one person in the middle, and they might spin around and then they point. And the person they point to has to say the names of the person either side of them. If they get the names right, they don't have to go in the middle. If they get the names wrong, they go in the middle, and you just keep playing. And the whole idea is that everybody tries to get to know everybody's names. Another one I've played like this is if you've got like some sort of little ball, and you throw the ball to the kid, and the kid who's caught it has to say the name either side. Okay, so you can do it that way, as that's another variation. Lines or orders. So I like to divide the kids up into groups. Okay, so depending on how big your groups are, it might be only 2 groups in the classroom or 3 or whatever. And I'll give them things like, okay, line up from shortest to tallest. line up from biggest foot to smallest foot, line up from shortest hair to longest hair, line up from oldest to youngest, then line up birthday date order, so January to December. And just, it's fun. Like, you just, just trying to get them involved, get them moving. Is it musical? No, but it gets me to see, and it's really interesting, especially when you do the age order. I remember years ago I had this one group, and again, year 7, and this girl was at the back, and she was a tiny little thing, and she was actually the oldest. And I said, "Sweetie, how old are you?" And she goes, "I'm actually nearly 14, miss." And I went, "What?" Because most of my kids in year 7 are around 12, 13. It's like, well, okay, wow, all right. And that sort of was an awareness thing for me. Next one is mixed freeze group. Now, I use this game for all sorts of things, but I like to use mixed freeze group formations. So I might say, you put on some music, stop the music, and then you say, okay, group, you got to have, and I'll nominate the group, has to be everybody that is in, like, we've got houses, like, and I'm sure you do at your school as well. So we've got Nora, Dixon, I'm Dixon, we always lose. We lose everything. Anyway, the houses, okay, and I'll say, go into your groups, okay, your sport house groups, and in that group you are going to be, and I say, right, you're going to make yourself into a washing machine, or the next time might be, okay, you got to make a airplane or a motorcycle. And I mean, it's a drama type game, but the idea is to mix the groups up each time so that you don't want them to be actually in the same groups. Or you might say, okay, everybody in groups of 5 and 1 group of 4, because you know your numbers of the class. Okay, we should have 3 groups of 3 and 4 groups of 4. As I said, it doesn't matter, but make sure you're trying to get them to actually mix up. Okay, so that's your good get to know you games. It's because, like, do I get to know them? Yes. Do I get to observe them? Yes. But do they get to know each other? Yes. And that's the other thing too, because especially with my kids, when I see them in year 7, they've often come from lots of different feeder primary schools, and they don't necessarily know each other. It's not like they've gone through school in every class together. So that's a good way to do that. Alrighty. Next one. Moving on is some, again, the first ones I'll talk about don't require a lot of in what do you call it, equipment, and some other ones that will. But these next one, working together in class building games. So again, that class building thing. Why would you want to do that? Again, you just want kids to be able to function and work together. Human knot is a fun one. So I'm sure you've all done this one where you actually get everybody to stand in a circle, and they have to be willing to hold another person's hand, because if they're not, that's a struggle. But you literally get hands, and you actually start, like, I will put kids, I will knot them, and then they have to get themselves unknotted, however that is, and go back into a circle. Now, that's sometimes not as easy as it is, because they're not supposed to let go of each other's hands, and they've got to twist and they've got to move. And so be mindful, depending on what you're, like, we have school uniforms, and depending on with kids who, like our girls can wear a skirt if they choose. They can also wear shorts, but if they're, wearing skirts, just sort of be mindful of what they're actually wearing. The next one is welded ankle. I like to do this one outside, and I will put them in like, you can do it as in, divide the groups up into, maybe 2 groups and have a competition, and try and do it you could do it in the classroom and in smaller groups. But if you want to do it as a bigger group, I take mine outside. So where my classroom is, I'm literally just outside as our main quad area, which is the main playground area, which is always undercover. It's got a big cover on it. So I'll line them up on one of the lines in the concrete, and they've got to put their ankles together and hold on to each other. And they've got to get from that point together without breaking ankles all the way to a certain point that I show them. And that's harder than it thinks. And if they break it, then you have to send them back. And this is why I like to play it with actually 2 groups, because they have to work together. They have to work out how to do it. Now, you could be mean and say, no one's allowed to talk. You've got to communicate in non-verbally, or you might sort of say, you can put some limits on it as well. A really good one to do. All right, as I've already talked about mixed freeze group formations, but that's another good one to do. Now, this fun one is a fun one, which is rhythm stick. So, good old drumsticks. Gotta love the drumsticks. This one's really fun, and it's really simple. It's really simple. I literally get the kids to sit in a circle, okay, facing each other. And I usually, for the first game, I'll hand out 1 stick. And all they have to do is hit the ground 3 times, 1, 2, 3, pass it along. 1, 2, 3, pass it along. And they do that while the music's going. If it happens to land on the person, like, okay, so whoever was the last person to have tapped the ground is how I explain it, that person is out. And then I might like, so, and I always play music. So I like to use Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick, that old, 80s, 70s song, and Whip It by Devo. I'm sure you could find some others. It doesn't have to be those ones, but just my sense of humor is what I like to do. And the kids like it. But you've got to then, I said you stop the music randomly. Sometimes I'll always play it normal first time round, and then the second time I'll add a second stick. Sometimes I'll add a third, and you're basically going to the point where you get down to 1 or 2 kids and who's actually the winner. But some variations of that game is I will call out reverse. So they have to actually pass it the other way or this way or that way. Okay. Fun game. It's interesting to see how many people get cranky when they get out. Again, a good thing to see, watch and observe your kids. Alrighty. The next one, clap, slap, clap. Now I forgot about this one and I haven't done it for a while, but I'm going to. So you literally put your kids in 2 circles, 2 concentric circles facing each other. Okay. So facing each other. And as it in that file I was just showing, it actually has got some variations on this. Okay, so I won't go through all those. Literally facing each other. Now, what they have to do is when it's clap, they have to clap their hands, and when it's slap, they have to actually. And it sounds bad with slap, but I don't know what other to call it. Is they clap the 2 people opposite, so the ones that are either side that way. So they've got to sort of be standing so that everybody's sort of in between each other. And you call out the pattern clap, clap, slap, clap. So clap, clap, slap, clap. Okay. Or the next one might be slap, clap, slap, clap, slap, clap, slap, clap. And you just keep going. And it's good just to see who can actually coordinate, who can listen, and have a bit of fun. And the last one is where the wind blows. Again, you can play this inside. I do always warn my kids to not get too excited playing this game and not too silly. And I'll explain why in a minute. So essentially with where the wind blows, what they do, you sit them in a circle, you put one person in the middle. And this is a good way to get to know kids. So I might say, if I'm in the middle, okay, where the wind blows anyone wearing glasses. So anyone who actually happens to be wearing glasses has to get out of their seat and find another seat quickly. And if you miss out, because the person in the middle's got to find a seat as well, and then the next person is in. So you obviously don't say, get them, make sure you put some caveats on it, like, don't say anything mean or single people out, but it could be everyone wearing white socks and they will have to move. Anyone in school uniform, so it might be everybody. You hope it's everybody. Anybody who has brown eyes, anyone who has I don't know, they come up with things, and it's amazing what they come up with. Anyone who has piercings, that's another good one I usually use. Anyone who plays sport outside of school. And again, it's just good to see who's actually who is similar to each other. They like to know that. So that's those sort of ones. So they're just simple ones that you don't need a lot of equipment. In fact, you don't need any equipment except for maybe a stick, and that's it, and something to play music on. But that's about it. You don't need to do anything. And again, these are just fun, simple games. All right, the next one though, once you've actually built your class, okay, you might want to start thinking about, okay, let's move them, get them moving and working together in smaller groups. In my classroom, I tend to put my kids in groups. That's how I like to have my class laid out, not in lines. I don't like that necessarily. Sometimes it works, but generally I have them in groups. So I want them to be able to function as a group. So there's things like, let me just get this out. Now, I've got a bigger folder to pop all these in because this folder's too small. It's just happened to be whatever I had at the moment. So things like, let me just get them out. Do that. All right. Team find a word. Okay. So these are really good ones. So you give them a piece of paper and they just have to literally find words in that. Okay. There's different ones in there and different variations. So you might have a group that you might need to, that's got a lot of letters. That one's got a smaller amount. So again, these are just in that one. There's 3 different variations. Okay. These are, I should say these are actually all in sets. I've got them like different sets for each thing. So I've got 6 different sets. So I should just go through what's in the blue set because they're all the same. Okay, so we've got, as I said, team finder words. They're really simple and it's a good competition one. The next one is finding squares. And again, variations on this so that there's lots and lots of squares, some squares, even down to that. So all they have to do with team squares is as a group, they have to work out how many squares there is. And they might go, oh, there's 9. There's not 9. Okay, don't forget the big one outside. That's 10. And then you can do another one there, another one there, another one there, another one there. Okay, and then they can do, yeah, anyway, you know what I mean? Like they have to think about how many squares are actually there. So again, differentiation, you can see there it's got group members, team name and tally. So how many squares they can actually find. You can do this also like give them some whiteboard markers so they can actually count them and wipe it off because these are just laminated sheets. And the last one there, no, that's all in that one. Okay. And the other one that I like to do is team tangrams. I like a good tangram. And I said, let me put that away. It's in the freebie, okay, the tangram puzzle. So all I've done is, I'm sure you all know what a tangram is, okay, but these are the parts. I just have printed them onto different colored paper and laminated them, okay, because the durability. Because the last set I did honestly lasted me about 10, 15 years. And then I actually gave them to the young prackies and they still, they can use them now. And then what I've found on a website, and I will say these are not mine, but these are simple ones to do. Okay, I really like these. I can do that's better. Loch Ness Monster, and you can see that's the shape they've got to make. These actually came from a guy called drpaulswan.com.au. These were on his thing. So it's a PDF, free PDF to download, and it's got a giraffe. And you could just say, okay, you give them all the sets and say, okay, the first team to actually create the horse or first team to create the flamingo, okay, or wherever it happens to be. There's a few there. It was Home Sweet Home. And what I liked about it was because it was Australian, it had actually, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to get the microphone. This one, an AFL player kick a goal. Okay, if you don't know what AFL is, it's Australian football. Okay, it's a weird combination of a few different sports, but it's quite big here in Australia. I'm not an AFL fan. I'm a rugby league fan, but that doesn't mean the kids like it. They can see themselves in it, okay? But as I said, there's stacks of puzzles out there you can get for team tangrams. And again, you can choose how you want to do that. Do you want to actually have it so that they can't talk? Okay, first group to get so many puzzles done, or sometimes it's just a good lesson filler as well. And then the last one is team stick puzzles. And what I mean by stick puzzles is I call them lollipop sticks, okay, or ice cream sticks. Those paddle pop sticks, that's what we also call them. Just those sticks that you get ice creams and stuff on, and you play games with them. But you can buy the free ones, not the free ones. You can buy the unused ones, the new ones in those cheap shops, and there's often colored versions of them. But again, there's stacks of those sort of stick puzzles out there to choose from. You can find a website that works for you. Alrighty, moving right along. As I said, lots and lots of games today, lots of ways to do them. And the next ones are my favorite to play. Okay, good old bingo. Okay, I can't say this enough, so oops, that's it. I literally keep my bingo and all my sets in these. So you can see this is a folder with bits and pieces there. I haven't been able to get any new ones. So this is an old one and it's missing the Velcro thing that keeps that there. So I can't wait till Lovely Office Works, who are not sponsoring this, but that's where I get them from, actually get them. So bingo, we all know what we can do with bingo. As I said, there's lots of different cards. I print them in lots of different colors so the kids, can play play along. And the nice thing about these is that there's 30 sets in 30 different cards in each set. In this set is that the kids get to know what sort of instruments are there. They get to see what they look like and how things are spelt, because that's another thing. And honestly, you can use those cards, the caller cards, for all sorts of other things. So that's one of my favorite ones to play is bingo. And then music symbol bingo, which is the one that started it all. Let me get an orange one. Okay, so you can see. Now I have to apologize. Oh, I don't think it's got it on there. This is a particular font I use. That's actually a music teacher font that I bought on TPT. And the bass clef is a bit weird. It's got the little dots in the wrong spot. So that's, sorry about that, but it's just the way it is. Oh, here's one. I'll show you what I mean. I was like, and I didn't realize I've been using these for years. See if you can you see that the dots are in the wrong spot on that? See there, yeah, they're not where they're supposed to be. The bass clef, sorry. But that's honestly, you just tell the kids that. And I play those games. Bingo, and I've got all sorts of other bingo type games in my store for like elements of music and other sorts of things, notes on the treble clef, and that sort of thing. So, and the other thing is, what do I use for counters? I did have other counters that I had given away, unfortunately. So I've literally had to go again to Officeworks, and these are the counters that I have found. I still need to buy some more, but that's I put the counters in one big bag, and I use those same counters for each game anytime I pull out the games. So that's where I use those. Sorry. Alrighty. So don't forget, I've got lots of bingo games in my store. So there's music symbol bingo, which I just showed you. Music instrument bingo, which is fantastic to use once you've actually done instruments of the orchestra, any of that sort of thing. Note identification bingo, again, the pitch one, especially if you've just taught that in your class, kids how to learn to, if they're reading the treble clef. I haven't done a bass clef one. Music terms, okay, I said the music, the new ones that I've got are elements of music terms. So it's just the same thing, bingo, but with the terms are actually on it. Some of those bingo cards haven't got as many terms on it, because like say for dynamics, there's not a lot of dynamics terms. So I can't make the 25 by 25 grid, like a 5 by 5 grid for 25. Doesn't make any sense. And the last one that I love to play, and I'm going to do a bit more about this tomorrow, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, is the good old definition cards, which again, I've got some in this container. Okay, so, it's mode. These are the pitch ones, and it's got the definition. And there's so many ways that we can use these cards. As I said, I'll be talking about that more tomorrow, so I won't use that, but they're really good learning games for the kids to use as well. So with all that, I know there was a lot of games that I've thrown at you. Don't forget, you can get the free one over in my store, TPT, and there's also games bundles in there if you want to go and have a look. But thank you so much for joining me for day 3 of the Get Ready With Me Back to School 2024 edition. And as I said, we're talking all about classroom games today. Now, don't forget, if you've been watching or if you're watching the replay, put your down in the comments watching, so I know that you are watching, and you'll be then have the chance to be entered in the draw. So you have to be watching every single video every single day. All right, so this is Wednesday, my Wednesday. We've still got Thursday, Friday, Saturday to go. Okay, so thank you for those people who have been watching so far. I really appreciate your participation in this. But don't forget, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, then as of the time of recording, so this is the 17th of January for me. If you're happy to be watching it around that time, this competition is really for watching on Facebook. So pop over to Facebook at my Jooya Teaching Resources Facebook page and go and make sure you make a comment there, because I won't be counting any sort of comments that are in YouTube. Anyway, before we go, I'll let you know that tomorrow, as I said, we're looking at the elements of music. So we're going to be looking at my listening, the term cards, the listening cards, and the mind maps, and different ways that you can use them. Again, I've got stacks of lesson ideas for you to actually use for that. And that's about it. So until tomorrow, I hope you've learned something. I hope you got some ideas. I'm Julia from Jooya Teaching Resources, and happy teaching. Bye.